I think we should fire up the installation, which is the point of this stream. So just like always, let me just pick it up. Just like always, not sure if you can see it. This is my ThinkPad T580 on which we are going to install Debian Linux. And I have a Ventoy installer here with Debian ISO. So let me just plug this in. And let's switch to the stream where you can see my laptop directly. And let's press F12 to interrupt the boot menu. So what you're seeing now is directly from the laptop, right? Boot menu, and I need USB hard drive. I think that's the one that we are going to use. There we go. So I have a couple of different operating systems listed here, but today we are installing Debian 12, which I have downloaded previously. I'm not sure if there is a newer version of 12.8, but that doesn't really matter. You can always update after the installation. So let's go boot in normal mode. There we go. So this is just like booting up from a USB stick. So I will not be using graphical install because I never use that one. There we go. Okay, so select the language. Let's go with English. Country or territory. Let's go to the other. Let's go to Europe and let's go to my country here. Configure locals. We can use locals, just the United States. This is fine. Unless you want everything in Croatian or your own language, then please do pick whatever you prefer. So the keyboard, I will use my own keyboard here, but you can pick English, of course, or whichever you are using. So Debian has a couple of various installer disks or images. One of them is net install. This one is perfect for situations where you always want to pull from the internet the latest stuff, and you want the as little as smallest image as possible, so you can put it on really small sticks. But you always need the internet for that. The way I do it, I always use the kind of DVD image, which is a couple of gigabytes, but it gives me the option to always use the actual offline installer if I don't have the internet. In this case, we are going to use internet. Let me just pull my cable here. This is my internet. Let's plug this in, so we can verify all the latest updates since we actually do have internet connection. Primary network interface, Intel wireless or Intel Ethernet connection. We are going to go with the wired connection, just so that I don't need to type my password for wireless because it's super long and annoying to type. Okay, so the host name of your computer, so that's basically the name of your computer. We can call it, I don't know, Zora. Domain name is most of the time not needed, but the way it might be needed is that if you are a part of some domain, for example, on a college campus or something, when you try to ping some other machines in your local network, which are all on the same domain, then you can just use their name without the name without the domain extension, and it will always assume the domain extension, the one that you type here. So in my case, I don't really need this. I will just press enter. So the root password, let's type something. Re-enter password. Full name for the new user. So that's my full name. my username, my password. I'm using a rather simple password right now because I'm going to wipe this system after the installation anyway. So partitioning method, this is a fairly important question for the installation of any Linux, but if you're a beginner, there is a good chance that you are going to back up your existing data on your external drive and then just wipe the entire drive, because that's the easiest method to install Linux, and just let Linux choose everything for you. You can manually partition everything if you know what you're doing, and it's not really difficult to do. It's just that if you don't have the idea of what you want from your partitions in advance, then there is no real point in partitioning if you don't know what you're doing, right? I mean, usually people partition their hard drives because they want to separate certain things. For example, on Linux, it's fairly common to separate the home folder from the rest of the operating system file system, because in home folder you might want to keep a sort of a backup of your home folder stuff, and experiment on the rest of the installation, or maybe you're doing some backup on the whole partition, or maybe you're doing the Butterfile system to do snapshots of just the system but not your home folder. There are many scenarios, but just let's go with the use entire disk. If you want it to be encrypted, feel free to choose the encryption method. It will ask you for a password, but we don't need this this time. Just use the entire disk and pick your internal hard drive on your laptop or whichever computer you're installing. So this is my external hard drive from which I am installing. So we are obviously not going to install Debian there, but on my internal SSD, which is 1 terabyte. So partitioning scheme, it will ask you for a couple of very simple questions. If you do choose the separate home partition, it will make it automatically for you. It will just not ask you how big you want it. It will just assume how big the base operating system should be. So that might be fine. That might not be ideal for you. But all files in one partition is pretty good. Let me just pull my image a little bit lower so you can see it here. And let's go with all files in one partition. So this is what the system is going to do for us. Let's just pick finish partitioning and write changes to disk so we can move on to the installation. And once again, I'm going to move myself out of the way so you can see that there is a no selected. You have to go left and say yes in order for system to make the ESP partition. That one is for GPT partition table. It is used for booting when you have UEFI system, which is pretty much all of the modern computers. So ESP partition is mandatory. X4 partition is our entire system, and we are going to get a swap partition, usually measured by how much RAM we have in the system. That's how Debian functions. Save changes to the disk, yes, and let's see where this goes. Let's move my picture again. So a network mirror can be used to supplement the software that is included in the installation media. So do you want to use the network mirror? The answer is always yes. The location for the network mirror, Debian has a lot of mirror servers. So basically just pick the one that is in your country, because in most cases this one will offer you the fastest downloads and updates. So just pick the one that is being offered, because that's usually your country. And in my country, as you can see, there are 5 different servers, and I'm just gonna go with the default one. Proxy, so my internet service provider does not force me to use any proxies. I'm just gonna press enter. It is going to scan the mirror now and start pulling the updates from the mirror compared to what is on my installation media. Do we wish to participate in the package usage survey? This time I'm going to click yes in order to send Debian a report on what we are installing, because I want them to know what we are doing. Okay, so this is the choice. This is the program called Task Cell. It is literally asking which desktop environment we wish to use. So the default is GNOME. I'm just going to switch to Plasma, or if you guys wish me to install something else other than Plasma, but recently I have been preferring to use Plasma as a desktop environment. So that's what I'm picking here. Web server, you usually don't need that on a personal computer. SSH server, this is always a good idea to have installed if you have any kind of a problem with your computer and you don't want to reset it with a reset button, but maybe try to fix it by logging in remotely from a different computer in your network. Then you can use this, and of course standard system utilities. Let's continue. Nobody said anything about changing the desktop environment, so I picked KDE. If you will want me to change it later, we can do that later, of course. Retrieving files. So what the system is doing now is it is retrieving files from the installation media and from the internet, depending on which packages have been changed. In the meantime, I have a fairly recent installer media, so I suspect that a lot of it will be installed from the local media. Installation complete. So let's press continue. And mounting, sending reboot. And I have unplugged my installation media, and we are now supposed to be booting into the Debian system, right? So this is the default grub boot up. So let's go into this. We are now into a dual screen mode. Let's go with configure display settings. Let's go with 100% on both of my screens. The internal one and the external one. You're watching the external one on the screen, on the stream. However, let's just press Super and P. Let's do it like this. Where's my mouse? Extend, unify outputs. Apply and keep. Okay, this should be it. Okay, so now the screens are the same. Let's go to install some software, because the installation is finished. It didn't take 20 minutes, but we are pretty much done. Unable to load, repository is not available. So this is something that we might need to fix by using the console, but let's try like a noob one more time to see if we can change it through the discover. So settings, CD-ROM. Okay, I wanted to use this with a text editor, but this is the easier way. So just deselect the installation media, because we are not going to use that anymore. We're not going to use that anymore, but we will use Flatpak. However, we will not use snap this time, and let's go to the update and refresh this time. Now it should be okay. The Flatpak and the Discover integration It's under settings, add flat hub. That's what I forget. That's what I forgot. Fetching updates. I think they could do a better job at giving people a message that something is going on, because it says fetching updates, but not in a way that people would notice immediately. So let's go with Fedora, because I want to fetch Fedora Media Writer. So the way this works is that it is going to tell you where it is pulling your software from, and I have intentionally used the FlatHub repository because I want to pull Fedora Media Writer. This is my favorite tool for writing ISO images to the flash drive for installing Linux. We are not going to install another Linux now. I just want to show you this software. It's really easy, and it supports all of the ISO images, not just Fedora. This is the Flatpak backend pulling a lot of packages right now, not just Fedora Media Writer. It's usually the first time it's usually pulling like 6 or 7 packages, and this is something that I can prove easily. Console Flatpak list. So right now it has pulled already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 packages. And let's do it again. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 packages. Okay, so 7 different things have been pulled just in order to be able to install Fedora Media Writer. Actually, the integration with the whole FlatHub system might not entirely be finished without the reboot, or at least logout. So let's do one restart just for a quick fix with the FlatHub. I'm fairly confident that I could have done just a logout for this, because Flatpak system is user dependent and not system dependent, so it is what it is. Okay, so Fedora Media Writer. Let me just show this to you quickly. So if you are installing any version of Fedora, then you will download automatically and go next, and then pick one of these official editions, Atomic Desktops. Let's say if you want Silver Blue, which is the immutable version of Fedora, just go with that, go with next. It will automatically download Fedora without opening your web browser. It will ask you to choose to which USB stick you want to flash it, and that's pretty much it. You have a installation media for Fedora. If you want to flash on your USB stick any other Linux system, then you can just download the ISO image, go with select ISO image, next select it from here, just pick from the file picker your ISO image, then select which USB drive, press next, and you're done. You have the installer ready for your preferred Linux of choice. So this system is very good. And one other very important part of this Fedora Media Writer is I'm not sure has this happened to any of you previously, but sometimes it happens to me when I flash some operating system installers, like some Linuxes. When I flash them to USB sticks, I am unable to restore them to their original state for some reason. I mean, I can, but it takes a bit of effort in order for other softwares to recognize the stick as a functional stick. once again. So what Fedora Media Writer can do, if it detects that you have a USB stick with a Linux installer on it, it will give you a third option, which will say restore this USB stick to their default state, which is basically, it is going to wipe the stick and just put one regular partition on it so it can be used for regular files. So this is pretty neat because it just like one click fix my USB stick and make it work like normal stick again. This is the one of the biggest reasons why I use Fedora Media Writer. So just so it can fix my sticks when they go when they appear to be broken or something. For having some weird partitions on them. So do we want to install a theme or update the system a little bit? I want to update the system a little bit more. Let's see if we can use Discover to add backports, because if you are installing Debian 12 in the beginning of 2025, there is a very good chance that you are having a somewhat newer computer and you will need somewhat newer kernel than the version 6.1. So you will need backports in order to install the official Debian kernel, but newer version. So let's go to settings and see if there is backports here to be clicked. Not really. All right, let's go. Let's do it manually. Let's do this manually. Can we increase the font? Yes, we definitely can. Milo, is it Milo? Yep, Milo Hoffman. Plasma 6.2 is already in Debian SID. You can use it now if you want. I don't want to mix things right now. The idea of this stream is to make a video about how to install Debian stable. So for Debian stable, I will only use the things that I consider to be in line with what makes a stable distribution still stable. So FlatHub is a good choice for adding newer programs to underlying stable distribution, and also installing newer kernel, because why not? Can we use sudo here by default? Yeah, I suppose not. Let's go with su. Let's do it like that. Let's edit our sources list and see if the backports is already here. Backports is not listed here, but we can add it. I actually forgot where I need to put it exactly. So we will use some help. I'm not sure if I need to put backports just in line with one of these lines, but we are going to quickly find out. Let's full screen this one and magnify so that it is readable. Updates and backports. In order to use these archives, your lists all required archives as the following. Where's backports? Bookworm, backports. Okay, so it's just one extra line because these 3 lines we already have. I think we should be good with this. Apt install Emacs. So the reason why I'm installing Emacs like this is because by default it is going to pull version 28 from the Debian stable repository. And then we're going to upgrade it for the latest version from backports just so you can see how things work. Let's just pull everything that is needed so you can see what is being installed. So you can see it's a bit fast running, but you can see that it's installing Emacs 28. Crap, it's not version, but we can do it like this. About Emacs, see here, it says where we are, GNU Emacs 28.2. So let's just, where's my control, XC, okay. So let's install Emacs again, apt install -t for the repository that we wish to use, which is Bookworm backports, and once again we want the Emacs package, and now it's going to pull something else, and this is going to be Emacs 29.4. Okay, Emacs, and there we have it. We are now on Emacs 29.4. So if you are Emacs user, this is the most convenient way to pull the latest version while using the stable operating system. Unfortunately, not many software is available on Debian backports, but some of the more interesting ones are pretty much available. So one of them is Emacs. This is something that I use, and one of the important ones is the kernel. So let's go with the latest kernel. Just use the same command and type Linux image, and this is not Linux image AMD 64. Okay, so we are now jumping from 6.1 to 6.11. Linux latest is 6.12. However, it is not yet in Debian backports, and since 6.12 is the upcoming LTS, or maybe even current one, this is the kernel that is going to end up in Debian 13 to be released sometimes during this summer. I would expect Debian backports to stop updating the kernel in the backports once they go with the 6.12, simply because everything kind of all the development in Debian SID unstable and testing kind of slows to a halt when the new version of Debian stable is being released. So I think the 6.12 is going to be the last one available in backports. If you're using wireless, there is a good chance that you will need the latest firmware that goes with the latest kernel. Otherwise, your wireless might stop working if you just upgrade the kernel like this. It's like this. So we need to pull the latest firmwares for everything that we are pulling. It's a good idea to always read the notes that pop up on your screen, especially if you have some of these hardware, just to understand what is going to change. I pressed Q so we can continue the installation, and then we will reboot the system to the new kernel. As I said, if you're using a stable operating system such as Debian stable, this is a really neat way for them to provide for us, like stable users, the fairly latest kernel, so we can enjoy the newer hardware support while still being faithful to the stable. I'm missing a word in English, but the philosophy of using a stable operating system, like the opposite of using the rolling distributions, such as Debian Seed or Arch Linux or stuff like that. So for the home usage, I use Arch Linux now because I really love to test all the latest software, and the Arch Linux provides very, very, very good balance for my home needs. However, I use Debian Stable for my work laptop because for my work laptop, I really cannot afford to have any surprises when I come to work in the office. My laptop needs to work exactly the same as it has always been working yesterday and the last week and last month and last year. So that's where Debian Stable is very good at. So let's just reboot the whole. Actually, let's just reboot this way. My coffee gone cold, but it's still tasty. If you go to advanced options for Debian, you will see that it is now offering 6.11 and 6.1, which was the original kernel. So you can still pick the older one, but I just went back one step with escape button, and I'm just gonna press Debian default boot button, which boots the latest kernel that we have installed. So you don't really need to touch anything while booting. I'm just showing you how you can boot into the previous kernel if you need it for any reason. That is until you uninstall it. You can uninstall the previous kernel. I have no clue what is on hold right now. This did not need to happen, I think. I have never seen this screen halt on this position. This is pretty not good. Let's try Ctrl-Alt-Delete to help it to reboot, and it's not reacting. The system is frozen, and I have no idea why. So I'm just going to force kill it with the power button. And turn it on again. So I suspect this could be a software problem because I don't think this laptop has any hardware issues. Now I'm just not touching anything, but let's see what happens. So one of the reasons why you might want to keep the older kernel is a situation like this, but now it booted. Maybe we should have waited in the first place. Maybe it wasn't stuck. Maybe I overreacted, I don't know. Debian 12 not so stable. Well, nothing is perfectly stable. It's just the idea. I'm just going to sell you my my own example. Nothing else. It's up to all of you to pick your distribution of choice for your use case, right? The reason why I use Debian Stable at work is because at home I use Linux, while at work I want the operating system out of my way. I'm not sure if that makes sense, because at work I do my work and I don't do Linux. I just use Linux in order to do my work. So the rolling distribution would make my actual work, which pays my bills, a little bit harder, because if things change, then I would have to work on repairing these things, which is perfectly acceptable at home, because at home Linux is my hobby, while at work Linux is not my hobby. It's just a tool that is the underlying base for the actual tools that get the job done.